The transport shuttle dropped through the purple atmosphere of Axiom Prime, and Li Ji-1 pressed her forehead against the cold window. Below her, the Galactic Unity Academy stretched across the valley like a crystal dream. Floating gardens drifted between massive towers that reached into the clouds. Everything looked clean and perfect and impossibly far. From the mud-filled trenches she had left behind, Ji-1 touched the scars on her left arm without thinking. The shrapnel wounds had healed months ago, but her fingers still traced the rough lines beneath her sleeve. The doctors said she was lucky. The blast that killed 3 of her squadmates had only torn up her arm and leg. Lucky. She did not feel lucky. The shuttle landed with a soft thump. Ji-1 grabbed her old military duffel bag and joined the line of new students walking down the ramp. All around her, alien species she had only seen in military briefings moved with easy confidence. Tall Aquilans with their flowing water-like bodies. Massive Vontians covered in natural armor plating. Small Kethrite who floated instead of walked. And somewhere in this crowd of 5,000 students, only 12 were human. First time off Earth? A cheerful voice spoke in Korean beside her. Ji-1 turned to see a young man with bright eyes and an easy smile. He wore the academy uniform already, the blue and silver colors looking strange against his human frame. "Yes," Ji-1 said quietly. "I'm Kim Tae-young, second-year engineering student. I heard more humans were coming, so I volunteered to help with orientation." He gestured toward the main building. "Come on, I'll show you where to go. Fair warning, though, not everyone here is happy about the Terran integration program." Ji-1 followed him through corridors that seemed to shift and change color as they walked. Other students stared at her. Some looked curious. Others looked disgusted. She kept her eyes forward and her limp as minimal as possible. The orientation ceremony was held in a massive amphitheater that could have fit her entire military base inside it. Ji-1 sat in the back row with the other human students. She counted them. 11 others. Tae-young had been right about the numbers. Commander Vexstar, the academy headmaster, stood at the center of the stage. His Aquilon body shimmered as he spoke, his voice translating automatically through the neural implants all students received. "Welcome to Galactic Unity Academy," Vexstar said, though his tone suggested he did not welcome everyone equally. "Here you will learn to serve the greater galactic community. You will study alongside the finest minds from 47 worlds. You will be challenged. Many of you will fail. This is acceptable. Excellence cannot be achieved without sacrifice." His eyes seemed to linger on the human section when he said the word fail. The ceremony ended with a celebration. Fireworks exploded in the sky above the amphitheater, bright and loud and sudden. Ji-1's body reacted before her mind caught up. She dropped to the ground, hands over her head, heart hammering in her chest. For 5 seconds she was back on Novara Station, with artillery shells screaming overhead and her squadmate bleeding out beside her. Then the fireworks ended. Ji-1 looked up. Every student near her was staring. Some looked confused. Others were already whispering to each other. She saw a Vontian student nudge his friend and point at her. They both laughed. Tae-young helped her stand. "You okay?" "Fine," Ji-1 lead. Her hands were shaking. She shoved them into her pockets. The next few days passed in a blur of classes and confusion. Everything at the academy was designed for species with greater strength, speed, or mental processing power than humans. Ji-1 struggled to keep up. Her quantum mechanics professor spoke so fast that her translator implant could barely follow. Her xenobiology lab partner, a Kethrite named Krill, refused to work with her and complained to the instructor about being handicapped by human slowness. But the worst was physical conditioning class. Instructor Mothra was a Vontian, massive and scaled, with eyes that showed nothing but contempt when he looked at the human students. On the first day, he designed an obstacle course that seemed specifically built to highlight human weakness. "This course is rated at standard difficulty," Mothral announced. "Complete it in under 20 minutes or repeat it until you succeed." The course involved climbing a 50-foot wall, crossing a gap that required a 15-foot jump, lifting and carrying 200-pound weights, and running through variable gravity fields. G1 watched a Vontian student named Crix finish in 8 minutes. An Aquilon finished in 12. Even the smallest species completed it in 18.G-1 started the course. Her damaged legs screamed at her on the wall climb. She barely made the jump across the gap, landing hard and rolling. The weights were nearly impossible. She dragged them instead of carried them, inch by inch. By the time she reached the gravity fields, she was already exhausted. The increased gravity pushed her down like a giant hand. She crawled through it 20-5 minutes, then 30, then 35. She crossed the finish line at 38 minutes and collapsed. Her vision was blurry. Her leg felt like it was full of broken glass. She could taste blood in her mouth. Crix stood over her, blocking out the light. "Pathetic," he said in perfect English, making sure she understood. "They should send you back to your dying planet before you embarrass yourself further." His friends laughed. 5 other Vontians, all massive, all looking down at her like she was an insect they could crush. G1 wanted to say something. Her combat instructor on Earth had trained her in 17 different ways to kill a Vontian with her bare hands. She knew exactly where to strike to drop Crix in seconds. But her commanding officer's final words echoed in her mind. "Don't give them any reason to expel you. Humanity needs this." So G1 said nothing. She pulled herself up, limped past Crix and his friends, and walked to the locker room alone. Her hands were shaking again, but this time it was not from fear. It was from the effort of holding everything inside. In the shower, she let herself cry for exactly 2 minutes. Then she washed her face, straightened her uniform, and walked back out. She had survived the siege of Navarra Station. She could survive this too. She had to. 3 weeks passed, and the bullying got worse. Crix and his friends made it their mission to break G1. It started small. They would shoulder into her in the hallways, using their greater mass to send her stumbling into walls. They sat behind her in lectures and made comments just loud enough for her to hear about weak humans and how the Academy was lowering its standards by accepting her kind. Then it escalated. G1's homework data slate disappeared from her locker. When she found it 2 days later, someone had erased everything. Months of work vanished. She had to redo assignments from memory while falling further behind in her classes. The food was next. The Academy cafeteria served meals compatible with all species, but someone learned which foods were toxic to humans. G1 bit into her lunch one day and immediately knew something was wrong. The burning started in her mouth and spread down her throat. She made it to the medical bay before passing out. The doctors treated her and told her to be more careful about what she ate. They did not ask if someone had poisoned her food deliberately. They did not seem to care. The rumors started after that. G1 heard them everywhere. Whispers that she had killed civilians during the war. Stories that she was mentally unstable and dangerous. Lies about why she limped, with some students claiming she had shot herself trying to desert. None of it was true, but truth did not matter. The rumors spread faster than she could deny them. Taeyang tried to help. He walked with her between classes when he could. He introduced her to other human students who were facing similar problems. But Taeyang was in his second year with his own studies to manage. He could not be everywhere. The Academy required all students to attend therapy sessions if they showed signs of trauma. G1 met with Dr. Yoon Hae-won every week in a small office that overlooked the gardens. Dr. Yoon was human, in her 40s, with kind eyes that saw too much. "You're not sleeping," Dr. Yoon said during their 4th session. "Your hands shake. You've lost weight. Talk to me about what's happening." "I'm fine," G1 said automatically. "You're not fine. And I can't help you if you won't tell me the truth." G1 stared out the window. A group of students laughed together in the garden below. None of them were human. "I didn't survive the siege of Navara Station by running to authority figures. I survived by being tougher than the things trying to kill me." "This isn't a war zone, G1, isn't it?" G1's voice was flat. "I'm surrounded by people who want me gone. I can't trust anyone except a handful of other humans who are just as powerless as I am. I go to sleep not knowing what they'll do next." "How is that different from war?" Dr. Yoon was quiet for a moment. "Because in war, you fought back. Here, you're trying to endure something that shouldn't be happening. There's a difference between strength and self-destruction." But G1 did not report the bullying. She told herself she could handle it. She had handled worse. One student did try to help her. Park Soo-bin was a quiet human girl who studied linguistics. She never spoke to G1 directly, but G1 started finding notes in her locker. Small messages of encouragement written in Korean. "You're stronger than they know. Don't let them win. We're proud of you. I recorded them sabotaging your chemistry experiment yesterday," Thyla said, her voice like wind chimes. "I have evidence of 7 other incidents. If you want to report them, I will testify." G1 looked at the recordings. Clear video of Crix tampering with her lab equipment while his friends watched the door. "Why are you helping me?" "Because what they're doing is wrong. And because I fought beside humans during the Krell War. You saved my world. I will not watch you be destroyed by cowards." G1 thanked her, but did not file a report. She kept the evidence, but could not bring herself to use it. Some stubborn part of her insisted on handling this alone. The breaking point came during tactical studies class. They were running a zero-gravity combat simulation, practicing emergency procedures for shipboard warfare. Students paired off and took turns playing attackers and defenders in a massive simulation. Chamber.G1 was paired with a Kethrite who barely acknowledged her. They were floating in 0G, tethered to safety lines, when the simulation began. G1 focused on the objectives, trying to ignore the difficulty of moving in zero gravity with her injured leg. Then her safety tether released. One moment she was secure, the next she was drifting freely. Not toward empty space, but toward an exposed power coupling that crackled with energy. The instructor was on the far side of the chamber, helping another pair. Taeyang was too far away to reach her. She had maybe 10 seconds before she hit the coupling. Panic tried to take over. This was how people died in space combat. Accidents that were not accidents. Equipment failures at convenient times, but G1's combat training overrode the panic. She remembered battlefield EV operations, moving in 0G after explosive decompression. She could not use her legs effectively with the injury, but she did not need to. She exhaled sharply through her nose, the force pushing her slightly. She twisted her body, adjusting her trajectory by fractions. She reached out and grabbed a support beam, stopping herself inches from the power coupling. The instructor finally noticed and hit the emergency shutdown. Everything stopped. G1 floated there, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. She looked across the chamber and saw Crix watching her. He was smiling. He had been assigned to equipment maintenance that day. He had been the one to check her tether. Something broke inside G1's mind. The simulation chamber disappeared. She was back on Novara Station, carrying Private Lee Dae-yoon through enemy fire while artillery shells exploded around them. Guyun's blood was hot on her hands and her. Squad leader was screaming at her to move faster, and she could not breathe. Could not think, could only keep moving forward because stopping meant death. When Ji-won came back to reality, she was in the medical bay. Dr. Yoon was sitting beside her bed. Tae-young and Soo-bin stood nearby looking worried. You had a severe panic attack, Dr. Yoon explained gently. Your body shut down to protect itself. How long was I out? 20 minutes. Ji-won closed her eyes. 20 minutes of lost time. 20 minutes of looking weak in front of everyone. She wanted to scream, but nothing came out. There's something else, Tae-young said quietly. Your military records got leaked academy-wide. Everyone knows now. Knows what? About Navarra Station. About what you did there. Ji-won sat up too fast, and the room spun. What exactly do they know? Soo-bin pulled up her data slate and showed Ji-won the posts spreading through the Academy's social networks. Her service record. Her medals. The number 73, attached to the words, confirmed enemy kills. Details. About how she had carried wounded soldiers for 18 hours. Through hostile territory during the final battle of the war. The reactions were mixed. Some students expressed respect. Others expressed fear. Many expressed anger that a trained killer was allowed to attend the academy at all. The comments section was full of debates about whether humans should be allowed in civilized institutions. Crix had posted too. His message was simple. If she's so tough, let's find out. It was a challenge. A formal challenge to an arena match, the Academy's legal way to resolve disputes. Combat was not forbidden here. It was regulated. You don't have to accept, Dr. Yoon said. You can refuse, and refusal means expulsion for cowardice, Ji-won interrupted. She had read the Academy rules. If I refuse, they'll say humans are weak. They'll use it as proof that we don't belong here. If you accept, you could get seriously hurt. Ji-won looked at her scarred arm. I've been hurt before. She accepted the challenge that night. She had 1 week to prepare. 1 week to get ready to face an opponent who outweighed her by 150 pounds and had natural armor plating. 1 week to prove that humanity deserved to be here, or 1 week until she failed and took humanity's reputation down with her. News of the arena challenge spread through the Academy faster than Ji-won expected. Within hours, everyone knew that a human was going to face Crix in formal combat. A betting pool started immediately. The odds were not in Ji-won's favor. Most predictions gave her less than a 5% chance of winning even one round. One had 7 days to prepare. 7 days to figure out how to beat an opponent with every physical advantage. She could not match his strength or his natural armor. She could not rely on luck. She needed a strategy. Tae-young found her in the empty training room the morning after she accepted the challenge. He was carrying a bag of equipment and had dark circles under his eyes, like he had not slept. I've been working on something, Tae-young said, dumping the bag on the floor. Inside were weighted training vests, resistance bands, and several custom-built devices that looked like torture equipment. I analyzed Vanshin physiology and movement patterns. If we can increase your speed and precision, you can exploit the gaps in his defense. He's twice my size, which means he's slower. Vanshins are built for power, not agility. You're built for endurance. We use that. Soo-bin arrived an hour later with a data slate full of research. I studied Vanshin culture and combat psychology, she explained quietly. They value direct confrontation and displays of dominance. They have a hard time adapting when opponents don't fight the way they expect. If you can frustrate him, make him angry, he'll make mistakes. Thela brought combat recordings of Crix's previous arena matches. There had been 4 of them, all victories. G1 watched each one carefully, studying how Crix moved, where he was strong, where he might be weak. She noticed that he always attacked the same way, using his size to overwhelm opponents quickly. He had never faced anyone who lasted more than 5 minutes against him. Dr. Yoon helped with mental preparation. They spent hours working through G1's PTSD triggers, helping her separate battlefield instincts from arena strategy. Your combat training will help you, Dr. Yoon said, but you need to stay present. The moment you slip into a flashback, you lose. On the third day, Lieutenant Choi Sang-woo appeared. He was the human military liaison assigned to the academy, officially present to help with the integration program. Unofficially, he had been a special operations commander during the war. He found G1 training alone late at night. I can't officially help you, Sang-woo said, watching G1 work through combat drills. But I can tell you that the military has been watching this situation closely. What happens in that arena matters beyond this academy. No pressure then, G1 said between breaths. Sang-woo smiled slightly. You're not alone, Corporal. There are 2 billion humans watching this, waiting to see if we belong out here among the stars. He left a small case on the bench before he went. Inside were combat stims, medical supplies, and a note that read, just in case. Destroy after reading. G1 trained harder than she had since basic training. She pushed her body past pain, past exhaustion, until moving became automatic. Taeyong's equipment helped her build speed. Subin's research helped her understand her opponent. Thyla's recordings gave her a map of Crix's habits. Dr. Yoon kept her mind focused, but something else happened during that week. G1 started teaching Dot. It began when 3 other human students asked if they could train with her. They were being bullied too, and wanted to learn how to protect themselves. G1 showed them basic defensive techniques, nothing lethal, just enough to avoid being easy targets. Word spread. More students came. By the 5th day, G1 was running training sessions for 12 humans every evening. She taught them what her combat instructors had taught her. Stay calm under pressure. Use your environment. Protect each other. Never quit. You really think we can survive here? One student asked after a particularly brutal practice session. G1 looked at them, exhausted and bruised, but still standing. I think humans are really good at surviving things we're not supposed to survive. That's our advantage. We don't know when to quit. On the 6th day, Subin discovered something important. She was researching human war records when she found a story that had spread through the Krell military during the war. A single human medical officer who held off 30 Krell warriors for 6 hours while protecting wounded soldiers. The Krell had retreated because they thought the officer must be superhuman to fight that long without stopping. The officer was evacuated before anyone got their name. That story has been circulating through galactic military channels, Subin explained. It's become almost a legend. Some species think it's propaganda. Others think it explains why humans are dangerous. G1 listened quietly. She had never told anyone the full story of Novara Station. Not even Dr. Yoon knew all the details. The military had classified most of it. Do you think it's true? Taeyong asked. I think war makes people do things they didn't know they could do, G1 said carefully. Fear can make you strong if you don't let it control you. That night, Crix's group broke into G1's quarters. They destroyed her medication, the pills that kept her leg pain manageable and helped her sleep. They smashed her data slate and tore up her uniform. They left a message written on her wall in glowing paint. Tomorrow, everyone will see humans break. G1 stood in her destroyed room and felt something shift inside her. She had been trying so hard to follow the rules, to prove humans could be civilized, to show that she was more than a soldier. But maybe that was the wrong approach. Maybe she needed to stop apologizing for what she was. She spent the night cleaning her room and preparing. No sleep, just focus. By dawn, everything was packed and ready. She had decided something important. She was done being afraid. She was done trying to be weak enough that others would not feel threatened. If they wanted to see what a human could do, she would show them. Taeyang found her in the training room at sunrise, running through combat forms. You should be resting. I've rested enough. Where's Sang-woo? The lieutenant? I don't know. Why? I need to ask him something about Navara Station. Taeyang was quiet for a moment. The rumor is true, isn't it? That story about the medical officer who held off 30 Krell. That was you. G1 did not confirm or deny it. She just kept training, her movements precise and controlled despite her exhaustion and pain. You don't have to do this alone, Taeyang said. We're all here for you. I know. That's why I have to win. Not for me. For all of you. The arena match was scheduled for noon. By 10 in the morning, 3,000 students had already gathered in the stands. It was the largest turnout in Academy history. The tension between human supporters and those who wanted to see humanity fail had turned this into more than a simple dispute. It had become symbolic. Commander Vextar stood in the arbiter's box, looking uncomfortable. He had tried to cancel the match, but the rules were clear. Both parties had agreed. The challenge stood. Ji-won walked to the arena preparation room. Her friends came with her. Taeyang checked her equipment. Subin reviewed the strategy one last time. Thela offered a blessing in her crystalline language. Dr. Yoon squeezed Ji-won's hand and said nothing. Because nothing needed to be said, Lieutenant Sang-woo appeared just before Ji-won entered the arena. The medical officer at Navara Station received the Medal of Valor, he said quietly. Highest military honor we give. The recipient refused to accept it publicly because she said she was just doing her job. Ji-won met his eyes. That officer also lost 3 squad members that day. No medal makes up for that. No, but 200 people survived because of her. That matters. Sang-woo saluted. Ji-won returned it, then walked toward the arena entrance. The crowd roared when she stepped into the light. Some cheered. Some booed. Ji-won ignored all of it. She focused on the center of the arena where Crix waited, his armor plating gleaming, his expression confident. The rules were simple. 3 rounds. Physical combat, tactical puzzle solving, and endurance trial. Win 2 rounds and you win the match. Commander Vegstar's voice echoed through the arena. Let the challenge begin. Ji-won stepped forward. Her leg hurt. Her hands were steady. Her mind was clear. She had survived worse than this. She would survive this too. The first round was physical combat. Non-lethal force only, but injuries were expected and accepted. The arena floor was a circular platform, 50 meters across, with various obstacles for cover. Medical teams stood ready at the edges. Crix entered from the opposite side, and the size difference was obvious. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, with armor plating that covered his shoulders, chest, and arms. His friends cheered from the stands. The human section, maybe 50 students total, chanted Ji-won's name. The signal sounded, and Crix charged immediately. No strategy, just raw power. His fist came down like a hammer. Ji-won rolled sideways, and the impact cracked the arena floor where she had been standing. The crowd gasped. Krix turned and swung again. Ji-won ducked under his arm and struck his ribs. Her fist bounced off his armor plating. He laughed and backhanded her. The blow sent her rolling across the floor. Pain exploded in her shoulder. The crowd cheered. Ji-1 got up. Blood ran from her split lip. She had expected this. Vaunchans were built like tanks. She could not hurt him through direct strikes. She had to be smarter. Crix charged again. This time, G1 let him come close, then dropped low and swept his legs. He stumbled, but did not fall. She used the moment to strike the back of his knee, a weak point Subin had identified. No armor there, just soft tissue. Crix grunted in pain. "You'll have to do better than that, human," he growled. "I plan to," G1 replied. The fight settled into a pattern. Crix attacked with overwhelming force. G1 avoided and countered with precise strikes to his weak points. She aimed for knees, elbows, the soft spots between armor plates. Each strike did small damage, but damage accumulated. 5 minutes passed. Crix was breathing harder. His movements were slightly slower. G1 was covered in bruises, but still moving. The crowd grew quieter as they realized this was not going to be a quick victory for Crix. 10 minutes. Crix's confidence was cracking. He was not used to opponents who lasted this long. He began making mistakes, overextending his attacks. G1 punished every mistake with quick strikes before dancing away. 15 minutes. Both fighters were exhausted. Crix's armor plating was not cracked, but his unarmored joints were swelling. G1's left arm hung limp from a blow she had not avoided fast enough. Her leg was screaming at her to stop. She ignored it. 20 minutes. Crix was frustrated now, angry. He roared and charged without thinking. G1 saw the opening. She dropped beneath his attack, planted her good leg, and struck upward into his knee joint with all her remaining strength. Something popped. Crix's leg buckled, and he fell hard. The arena went silent. Crix tried to stand, but his leg would not support him. G1 could have finished him. One more strike, and the round was over. But she remembered what Subin said about Vanshan psychology. They valued strength, but they also valued honor. G1 stepped back and waited. She gave Crix the chance to stand on his own. Crix stared at her, confusion and rage mixing on his face. He pulled himself up, favoring his injured leg. The round timer hit 25 minutes. Commander Vextar declared it a draw, though everyone in the arena knew who had really won. The medical teams rushed in. Crix's friends carried him off to treatment. Taeyang and Subin helped G1 to the preparation room. Dr. Yoon was already there with medical supplies. That was incredible. Taeyang said while Dr. Yoon worked on G1's injuries. That was exhausting, G1 corrected. Her whole body hurt. 2 more rounds to go. Can you do it? G1 looked at her bandaged arm and thought about the 200 soldiers who survived. Navarra Station, because she refused to quit. I have to. The second round began an hour later. This was the tactical puzzle. Both competitors were given the same scenario and had to solve it using the arena's holographic simulation system. The problem was a classic military dilemma. Evacuate 1,000 civilians from a space station under attack with limited ships and time. Crix went first. He approached it like a standard Vanshan military operation. Prioritize the strongest and most useful civilians. Fill ships to maximum capacity. Leave the weak behind. His solution saved 700 people in 30 minutes. The judges nodded approvingly. It was efficient and followed established military doctrine. G1 went next. She studied the problem carefully. 1,000 civilians, 5 ships with different capacities, 30 minutes before the station was destroyed. The standard solution was to prioritize and save as many as possible. But G1 had spent 2 years in war zones where no one got left behind. She redesigned the evacuation routes, using maintenance tunnels that the simulation barely showed. She redistributed resources in ways that seemed mathematically impossible, accepting higher risk to save more people. She staggered the ship's departures and used emergency docking procedures that were technically against safety regulations, but worked in practice. 45 minutes later, her simulation finished. The judges stared at the results. 1,000 civilians saved. 0 casualties. 100% survival rate? This is impossible, one judge said. The scenario is designed so that losses are unavoidable. I just avoided them, G1 said simply. The judges argued for 20 minutes. G1's solution violated standard procedures. It required perfect timing and put the evacuation ships at greater risk. But the results were undeniable. She had saved everyone. Commander Vextar looked uncomfortable as he declared G1 the winner of round 2. The methods are unconventional and violate military common sense, but the outcome is acceptable. From the stands, G1 heard human students cheering. She also heard Vauntian students arguing with each other. Some were impressed. Others were angry that human tactics were being validated. The notes helped more than G1 wanted to admit. Someone was watching. Someone cared. Taeyang also convinced G1 to join him for late-night study sessions in an unused lab. It became their safe space. For a few hours each night, Guide-1 could focus on schoolwork and almost forget about everything else. Taeyang talked about his engineering projects and asked G1 about Earth and carefully avoided asking about the war until one night when G1 mentioned it herself. I was a combat medic, G1 said quietly, organizing her notes. 73 missions. I kept people alive long enough to evacuate them. That was my job. Keep them breathing until help arrived. That must have been hard. The hard part wasn't the injuries. It was deciding who to treat first when you didn't have time or supplies for everyone. It was watching people die because you made the wrong choice. G1 closed her eyes. I still see their faces sometimes. Taeyang did not say anything. He just stayed there with her until the memories faded. Another student who helped was Thala, a silicate whose crystalline body reflected light in rainbow patterns. Silicates were quiet observers by nature, and Thala had been watching Crix's group for weeks. She approached G1 in the library one day and slid a data slate across the table. Round 3 was the endurance trial. Both competitors had to complete an obstacle course while carrying 100 pounds of weight. The catch was that gravity increased progressively. The first to quit or collapse lost. G1's injured arm was bandaged and her leg was barely holding up. Across from her, Crix's damaged knee was also bandaged. Both of them were running on pure determination and pain medication. The course began at normal gravity. Both competitors moved steadily. Crix was faster, his natural strength giving him an advantage. But as gravity increased to 1.2 times normal, the advantage shrank. At 1.5, they were even at 1.8 times Earth gravity. Something interesting happened. Crix was struggling. His species had evolved on a low-gravity world. The increased gravity was crushing him. But humans evolved on Earth, a high-gravity world. G1's body was built for this. She pulled ahead. At 2 times normal gravity, Crix's injured knee gave out. He collapsed under the weight, unable to continue. The medical team rushed to help him. G1 kept going, 2.3 times Earth gravity. The weight felt like it was pulling her through the floor. Every step was agony. Her vision blurred. Her heart felt like it might explode. But she thought about Private Lee Dae-yoon and the 18 hours she carried her through enemy fire. She thought about the 200 soldiers who survived because she refused to stop. She crossed the finish line, and the crowd erupted. Some cheered. Some stood in shocked silence. G1 turned and walked back to where Crix lay on the ground, surrounded by medics. She offered him her hand. "Good match," she said. Crix stared at her hand. For a moment, G1 thought he might accept, that he might acknowledge what had happened here. that maybe this could be a turning point. Instead, Crix's expression twisted with rage and humiliation. His hand moved to his armor, where he had concealed a small blade. Arena matches were supposed to be weapons-free, but Crix had brought one anyway. He lunged at G1 with the blade aimed at her throat. A killing blow. A violation of every arena rule. G1's combat training reacted before her conscious mind registered the threat. She sidestepped the lunge, caught Crix's wrist, twisted it in a direction it was not meant to go, and felt bones snap. The blade clattered to the floor. Crix screamed. Security was rushing toward them, but G1 was not done. She swept Crix's legs and put him on the ground face first. Her knee pressed into his back, her hand controlling his broken wrist. Combat medic training told her exactly how much pressure would cause pain without permanent damage. The entire arena had gone silent. G1 leaned close to Crix's ear and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. I survived because I learned when to fight and when to show mercy. You just failed at both. She released him and stood. Security reached them a moment later, pulling Crix away. Commander Vexstar was already declaring the match over, and Crix, disqualified. G1 walked out of the arena. Her friends rushed to meet her. The human section was cheering wildly. Some alien students were cheering too. Others looked angry or afraid. G1 did not care. She had proven what needed proving. Humans could survive here. They belonged among the stars. She had kept her promise to her commanding officer. She had not given them any reason to expel her. She had given them every reason to respect her instead. Crix was expelled from the academy the next day. The security recordings showed him concealing a weapon and attempting to kill G1 after the match was over. His friends who had helped with the bullying received suspensions. Commander Vexstar was forced to issue a formal apology to all human students and implement new anti-bullying protocols. But none of that made G1 feel better. She spent 2 days in the medical bay recovering from her injuries. The doctor said she was lucky nothing was permanently damaged. She did not feel lucky. She felt tired. The story spread beyond the academy. News feeds across the galaxy picked up the arena match. Some praised G1's victory. Others questioned whether humans were too violent for civilized institutions. Debates erupted on dozens of worlds about the Terran integration program. G-1 became famous without wanting to be. Students she had never met stopped her in hallways to congratulate her, or challenge her, or simply stare. Some alien students looked at her with respect now. Others looked at her with fear. A few looked at her with hate because she had humiliated their species by beating Crix. None of them just looked at her like a normal student. That bothered her more than she expected. Taeyang stayed close during those first difficult days after the match. He brought her meals when she did not want to go to the cafeteria. He helped her catch up on schoolwork she had missed while preparing for the arena. He sat with her during the nightmares that came back worse than before. You don't have to do this, G1 told him one night after waking up screaming. I'm not your responsibility. No, you're my friend, Taeyang said simply. Friends help each other. Su Bin moved into G1's quarters as her new roommate. She did not talk much, but her presence was comforting. She left notes of encouragement and made sure G1 ate and attended therapy sessions. She understood that sometimes people needed quiet support more than words. Ayla visited regularly, bringing news from around the academy. The Silicate had become an unofficial ambassador between human and alien students. She organized discussion groups where different species could talk about their cultures and misconceptions. Not everyone came, but enough did to make a difference. Dr. Yoon increased G1's therapy sessions to 3 times per week. They worked through the violence G1 had experienced in the arena, helping her process it separately from her war memories. You defended yourself, Dr. Yoon explained during one session. That's not the same as going back to war. You need to understand the difference. It felt the same, G1 admitted. That moment when Crix attacked me, my body just reacted. I could have killed him. The training was there. I chose not to. And that choice matters. It shows you're in control, not your trauma. But the nightmares continued. G1 still flinched at loud noises. She still traced the scars on her arm without thinking. The arena match had not fixed her. It had just proven she could function despite being broken. 3 weeks after the match, Commander Vextar called G1 to his office. She expected more problems. Instead, she found him looking uncomfortable and uncertain. "Corporal Lee," he began formally, "the events of recent weeks have forced me to reconsider certain assumptions. I believed humans were not ready for integration into galactic institutions. I was wrong." Kai-1 said nothing, waiting. "Your performance in the arena has generated significant attention. Military academies on 7 worlds have requested information about human tactical training. 3 species have asked to establish cultural exchange programs with Earth. The galactic community is reassessing humanity's position. Is that good or bad? That depends on what happens next." Vextar pulled up a holographic display. "I am offering you a position teaching a new course, Survival Tactics and Adaptive Strategy. You would teach students from all species the principles that allow humans to succeed despite physical disadvantages." G1 stared at him. "You want me to teach military tactics? I came here to leave war behind, not to train more soldiers. I am not asking you to teach violence. I am asking you to teach survival, cooperation, creative problem-solving, endurance, protecting others. The things you demonstrated both during the war and in the arena." Vextar looked directly at her. "Humans have something the rest of the galaxy needs to learn. We need to understand how you refuse to quit, even when quitting is the logical choice." G1 thought about it for 3 days. She talked to Dr. Yoon, who said it might help with her recovery to transform her trauma into something constructive. She talked to Tae Yang, who said she would be an amazing teacher. She talked to Su Bin, who reminded her that knowledge was meant to be shared. Finally, she talked to Lieutenant Sang-woo. "Will this help humanity?" she asked. "More than you know," Sang-woo replied. "Right now, humans are seen as either victims who need protection or threats who need to be controlled. If you can show them we're teachers, partners, survivors who want to help others survive, that changes everything." G1 accepted the position. Her first class had 30 students from 7 different species. 2 of them were Vonchans, who approached her nervously before the first session. "We know what our people did to you," one of them said. "We want to learn from you anyway, if you'll have us." Kai-1 looked at them for a long moment, thinking about hate and forgiveness, and whether she was capable of either. "Sit down," she said finally. "Everyone here learns together, or no one learns at all." The class met 3 times per week in a large training room. G1 did not teach them how to fight. She taught them how to think like humans, how to keep going when logic said to quit, how to work together when cooperation seemed impossible, how to turn weaknesses into advantages. She used examples from the war, but framed them carefully, not as glory stories, but as lessons about the cost of survival and the responsibility that came with strength. Humans aren't special because we're stronger or smarter, G1 told her students during the 3rd week. We're special because we decided that strength means protecting others, not dominating them. We survive because we refuse to leave people behind, even when it would be easier to do so. The students listened. Some understood immediately. Others needed time. But they were trying, and that mattered. Word spread about G1's class. By the 2nd month, she had a waiting list of students who wanted to join. The academy added a second section, then a third. Human teaching methods became a topic of academic study. Other schools started requesting similar programs. G1 still had bad days. Days when the nightmares were too much and she could not get out of bed. Days when a loud noise sent her diving for cover. Days when she looked at her students and saw the faces of the soldiers she could not save. But she also had good days. Days when a student thanked her for helping them see problems differently. Days when she saw alien students from different species studying together because her class taught them cooperation. Days when she realized she was building something instead of destroying something. 6 months after the arena match, G1 stood before the Academy Memorial Wall. Names of students who died in various conflicts were carved into the crystal surface. 3 new names had been added recently, human students who died during the war. They would have been G1's classmates if they had survived. She traced their names with her fingers. Park Min-ji, Lee Jun, Kim Tae-sung. She had served with all 3 at different times. She had tried to save them. She had failed. Still thinking about leaving? Tae-young's voice came from behind her. He held 2 cups of coffee. G-1 had considered leaving several times. Going back to Earth, finding somewhere quiet, trying to forget. But she took the coffee and looked across the academy grounds. Her students were gathered in small groups, human and alien together, laughing about something. They looked happy. They looked like they belonged. "No," G1 said quietly. "I think I'm exactly where I need to be. I survived a war zone so I could fight a different kind of battle. And maybe we're winning this one." She saluted the memorial one last time. A soldier's goodbye to fallen friends. Then she turned and walked toward her classroom. Her limp was less noticeable now. The physical therapy was helping. She still flinched sometimes at unexpected sounds, but less often. She still had nightmares, but they were manageable. The scars on her arm would never disappear, but she had stopped hiding them. In the classroom, her students were already waiting. 30 faces from 7 different worlds, all looking at her with respect and expectation. 6 months ago, she could not have imagined this. Being here, teaching, building bridges instead of watching them burn. Today we're going to talk about decision-making under pressure, G1 announced as the class settled. Specifically, how humans approach the impossible choice between bad options and worse options. The key is understanding that sometimes survival means accepting that there are no good answers, only the answer you can live with. A Vanshan student raised her hand. How do you live with decisions that haunt you? G1 thought about Navara Station, about the soldiers she saved and the ones she could not, about choosing who to treat first and knowing that choice meant someone else would die, about carrying those memories every single day. You remember them, G1 said honestly. You remember what they cost and why they mattered. You don't let the guilt destroy you, but you don't forget either. And you try to make sure their sacrifice meant something by becoming someone worth surviving for. The class was silent, processing this. That's the real human advantage, He-One continued. We carry our dead with us and let them make us stronger, instead of letting them make us quit. We survive not just for ourselves, but for everyone who didn't make it. That's what makes humans dangerous. Not our weapons or our tactics. Our refusal to let sacrifice be meaningless. She looked around at her students, human and alien alike. Now, let's apply that to today's scenario. After class, Su-bin waited for G1. They walked back to their quarters together, talking about small things, normal things, homework and the cafeteria food, and whether the weather control was broken again because it rained every afternoon. It felt good. Normal conversations with a friend. Not every moment needed to be about survival or trauma or proving humanity's worth. Sometimes it was enough to just exist and complain about the rain. That evening, G1 sat at her desk and started writing. She had been avoiding it for months, but Dr. Yoon said it might help. She began recording her memories of Navarra Station, everything she remembered about the soldiers who died and the ones who lived. Not for official records or glory stories, just so someone would remember their names and know what they sacrificed. She wrote about Private Lee D-Yoon, who loved music and wanted to be a teacher. About Corporal Kim Tae-soon, who collected jokes and always knew how to make people laugh even when everything was terrible. About Sergeant Park Min-ji, who kept everyone focused when panic tried to take over. She wrote until her hands hurt and her vision blurred. Then she saved the file and closed her computer. Outside her window, 3 moons rose over Axiom Prime, painting the sky in shades of purple and silver. Somewhere out there, Earth continued turning. Her family was there, wondering if she was okay. Her former squad mates were there, trying to build normal lives after war. Humanity was there, taking its first real steps into the galactic community. And G1 was here, teaching aliens how to think like humans, building something new from the ruins of something old, surviving not by forgetting the past, but by refusing to let it define her future. She still had nightmares. She still had scars. She still flinched at fireworks, but she also had friends. She had students who respected her. She had a purpose that meant something. She had survived a war zone. Now she was surviving peace. And somehow, peace was harder, but also worth fighting for. G1 touched the scars on her arm one more time, then let her hand fall. Tomorrow there would be more classes, more challenges, more moments of doubt. But tonight, she could rest. Tonight, she could be proud of how far she had come. Tonight, she could finally believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved to be here after all.